Hey everyone, appreciate you tuning in to this episode of The Wolf's Den. Today I want to go over how to train employees, since it is such an important task in growing a business and being able to delegate tasks and roles in a business. So I might as well just dive right into it. So here at Golden Wolf, it all starts with the SOP, Standard Operating Procedure. So we have a written documentation about what we as a company expect from each employee that does a certain task. For example, for this podcast, we'll just go over the example of hedge trimming, since it's a pretty self-explanatory and simple task. So regarding hedge trimming specifically, we want to document a process on a piece of paper, about one sheet of paper. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, just so that we can reference back to it. We as in foremen, project managers, owners, pretty much anyone and everyone can reference back to it, just so we know what the company standards are. And everyone learns in different ways: audio, visual, speaking, reading. There's many different ways that people can learn, and just having a variety of different methods would sort of encompass all those learning skills that people have and how they learn the best. And it also allows people to refer back to something if they do have a question on it, which is important. So in terms of having this specific example of hedge trimming, it all really starts with safety and PPE equipment. So in the beginning, when we're onboarding an employee, we hand them all the proper safety equipment and PPE, glasses, gloves, ear protection. I already said glasses, respirator if they're doing hardscaping, steel-toe boots, all that stuff. And making sure that they sign off on it to acknowledge that the company, the employer, has given them this information, or not information, this equipment is very important for liability reasons. God forbid something were to happen. Just another document that we put in place just to acknowledge that they received it, as well as we have handed it to them. So making sure that they have the proper safety protocol is very important going into something such as hedge trimming, when you're using a machine that sharp. And then also going over the do's and don'ts of things before you even touch a hedge trimmer, even before you start a hedge trimmer. It's very important. And while you explain the process of the do's and the don'ts, explaining the whys behind things is very important as well, because explaining the why gives the reasoning instead of just the how. And something that I've learned over time is if you explain the why, it gives them a better understanding, and it makes them sort of buy in on the specific reason that you're giving them in the first place. For example, just say we're using this hedge trimming example. If we were to start hedge trimming, do a full pass on the said shrub, and then we just walk away instead of brushing off the clippings, and we come back a couple of days later, if we do not explain the why behind why we have to shake the shrub a little bit to get all those clippings off, and that you're going to see dead, dried leaves on this, which will make the physical appearance of the shrub look terrible, then they won't understand it. If you just say it, yeah, they can understand it, but also explain the why behind things. It gives them the most 360 viewpoint and understanding about the said task, such as head trimming in this example. So, and that can go for any and every step throughout a process. Doesn't have to be head trimming, could be anything in a business that you're training them on. So after you give them their safety equipment, their PPE, after you goes over the do's and don'ts before you even touch anything, and as you go through the process explaining the why, the first step is actually just showing them, having them stand to the side while you actually do the said task that you're doing, and head trimming for this example, and explaining the process to them as you do it. And you don't want to rush through anything. Just being able to make sure that they have the best understanding is very important in any type of training. And After you have shown them and they watch, being able to switch roles is something that I've learned has been very beneficial for us in the training and onboarding process. Because anyone could just watch someone do something, but then if you have to verbally explain it as well as physically do the task, it gives them, they have to really, really understand it to be able to teach someone and relay the information back to you instead of just being a robot, more or less. So after a certain task is done, after you show them or walk through them with them, then you switch with them. You're the one observing and they're the one doing. And as they are doing, have them explain it to you as well, which would allow them to just be able to understand, and they have to articulate in a certain way that they have to understand the process in order to teach it. So then after they're done teaching it to you, after you've gone to that next shrub, then you go on to the next shrub and you just walk away. And by walking away, one, make sure that you aren't micromanaging them, because no one wants to be micromanaged. No one's ever just going to be staring at someone for the entirety of their work career, and being able to put them accountable for doing the said task. So if you walk away, it gives them a little bit of accountability doing this certain thing. And as you walk away, mistakes could happen. I mean, it could happen that first day. It could happen a couple weeks into it. Could happen a couple months into it. So just having the understanding that mistakes can and probably will happen, it is something that a mindset that you need to have going into something with this task or any other task, that it's not going to be perfect day one, and you should never expect perfection from anyone. Obviously, having high standards is very important, but people are human. Everyone makes mistakes, and having that understanding is very important. And also telling them that if you were to make a mistake, it's not going to be your last day here, and you're not going to get fired right away. Mistakes allow people to learn and to improve themselves, obviously within reason what type of mistake, but just having that understanding that by delegating tasks, it could take several weeks, several months, obviously depending on the task, could take several years to become an expert on. So as you walk away, having that mindset is very important. And once they're done doing that task without anyone watching, they'll call you back over and review the task just to make sure that everything was done appropriately, hedge trimming in this example, and make sure that the hedge was trimmed to how you originally explained it, to what the company standards are, as well as what the client is expecting. And after all is good there, then you would move off onto the next part of the training process would be to call over another employee, such as another crew member, a foreman, anyone else who's involved in the company, and you observe that new hire that's being trained explain the exact same process of how to trim a shrub, for this example, to that other crew member, that other employee. And being able to explain it to multiple different people, going back to my first point, everyone learns in different ways. Everyone could ask a different question for clarity. It just gives another set of eyes, another way of looking at things, that really that person that is explaining the task and being trained has to possibly explain it in a different way, explain it a little bit clearer, explain something a little bit more, and it allows them to get that full 360 clarity on that specific task. So it all starts, to put it into a macro view, it all starts with that SOP, that one-page sheet that everyone can refer to, that they know what to expect. And after you show them the specific task and explain it to them fully, they have to do the specific task and then explain it back to you. And then after they do that, then you walk away, have them do the said task by themselves, and have the understanding that mistakes could happen. And then once you come back, make sure that I'll do a quality control check. Then you would just observe them, explain it to someone else, and make sure that they have the best understanding of the task so that they could feel confident moving forward, and you could feel confident moving forward that you're not going to have to watch over them and micromanage, because that's the last thing that anyone wants to be. The last, and no one wants to be micromanaged, to put it simply. But this step-by-step process is something that we've used in our company, and being able to have other forms of leadership, such as a foreman, such as a project manager or supervisor, allowing them to understand this and training them on how to train people is very important as well. So it's going to be a repeatable process for everyone, so that one person doesn't just train one way and one person trains another way. Having that harmony, that everyone could train together in the same way, is very important, because you don't want 5 different people training 5 different ways, because it could be very confusing, and you don't want those 5 different people to be training 5 different ways in 5 different ways, and explaining how to do the specific task 5 different ways. So having that SOP in place, that everyone knows what is expected, is very important. And it all starts with just documenting a process. But being able to have this continuity and this differentiation of the training, instead of just demanding and showing and reprimanding and dictating more or less, it's very important to give everyone the opportunity to learn, everyone the opportunity to make mistakes, because throughout making mistakes, that's when people learn the most. I know I could say that specifically is the moments when I learned the most is when I made the biggest mistakes. And mistakes are always going to happen. We're all human. But this is something that has worked for us with onboarding employees and training employees. But I'm also curious what you, who's listening to this, what you guys do, what has worked or what may have not worked for you in the past, and what you're currently doing, because obviously being able to learn from other people in the trades is very important, and also learn from other people's mistakes. So let us know your feedback about what you're currently doing or what you stopped doing, and what has worked for you guys. But if you have any questions for me on this specifically, please let me know. But hopefully I explained this well enough. But again, appreciate you tuning into this episode of The Wolf's Den, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.